selective name watch unceded First Nation. We also think of the Métis Nation of Ontario, whose history and people are well represented in Bruce and Grey counties. I'd also like to let you know that we have received regrets from Trustee Lacombe and Trustee Morgan, and also that normally Trustee Thompson chairs this meeting, but she is feeling unwell, so ought you get me this evening. Just to also let you know that I forgot my glasses at home, so you know the type is not quite clear, so everybody be really patient with me, and if I make a mistake, absolutely let me know in a really sweet, nice way. Okay. This is our reflection for this evening. Today is World Education Support Personnel Day. On behalf of the Board of Trustees, I would like to extend a special thank you to all the amazing support staff in our Blue Water schools and work sites who fulfill a tremendous number of responsibilities in their diverse roles each day. Their work is critical to the success of our students, other staff, and the overall safe and smooth operation of our system. Tomorrow, May 17th, is the International Day Against Homophobia, Transphobia, and Biphobia. This year's theme is Together Always, United in Diversity, which reminds us of the growing diversity in our local communities and our board. Our board's strategic priority of safe, supportive learning community reflects our commitment to public education system where all are welcome, accepted, and included regardless of their sexuality or gender. I also want to take a moment to acknowledge all our students who have been actively participating in a wide range of extracurriculars and competitions. From school plays and musical performances to public speaking, science, and skill trade challenges, our students are involved in so many wonderful initiatives at present. Of course, behind every student's success and achievement is the support of a dedicated staff member, parent, guardian, or other caring individual. We thank them for the time and commitment they provide to our students, whether it is through coaching, directing, coordinating, volunteering, or simply through encouraging. For our moment of reflection, I would like to collectively acknowledge our support staff on World Education Support Personnel Day, along with all our recent student performers and competitors, and those behind the scenes ensuring their growth and success. We are thankful for all they contribute to the learning that is occurring in Blue Water today and to best position our students as the leaders of tomorrow. Okay, so looking for the equivalent agenda, that the agenda for the regular meeting of the board of May 16, 2023 be approved as printed. Can I have a mover, please? Thank you, Trustee Craig, and seconded by Trustee Long. Okay. Just want to write that in there. Okay, go ahead, Trustee Keiko. Oh, that's me. You're good to go now.
I just wanted to know if we could amend the agenda to include the comments about Bill 28.
So it's a yes or no answer. So there's a little procedure to do that. So you can amend the agenda, but because it wasn't already on the agenda, then it requires a pre-motion before we can amend the agenda, which means that there has to be a vote, and it has to be by 2/3. So in other words, 2/3 of the trustees around the board table would have to agree with adding that as an agenda item. And if I would be putting it under communication. So just to let you know, I've already had it's already been a little bit of a pre-discussion, so that's where it would fall under. So so you would like to amend, if you could put it forward, that'd be great, James.
I would like to amend the current agenda to include conversation or dialogue about Bill 98 and put it under communications.
Okay, and, so because of this, it would require a second, and then I'm gonna do the pre-part. So trustee Craig, see if you got this. Okay, so we're not talking about the merits of the motion, okay? We're just talking about here whether you agree with having that conversation or that debate this evening. Okay, so it's a pre-motion. So with that in mind, it requires a mover for that. No, because you want the motion. So it requires 2/3. Well, you can. Trustee Kai-Koken, second. Trustee Craig. Okay, so now the debate is only about whether or not you think that we should have this debate or not. So I'm looking for people to go ahead. Trustee, I think your hand came up first. Trustee Thompson.
Just looking for a little more clarity on what we would be having a conversation about or what the outcome would be. Because we had the conversation at our last meeting about this. That would be my point that I'd like to know more information about.
Trustee Craig.
I will vote in favor of adding this item to our agenda because there is no more important piece of legislation or regulation that has come out of the ministry that has been more important to school boards across this province than Bill 98. In fact, without, you don't debate the logic of Bill 98 here, but
You can't do that.
No, but I have to at least explain why it's important that we have our say on this subject. And the reason is that it is a frontal assault on the authorities, on the powers of school boards.
You're actually getting into the debating of the motion. No, I'm
possibly
just letting you know you have to debate. So I first of all, I'm going to ask for, just a minute, I'm going to ask for clarification about what the conversation already was, because I think we need some clarity. And also the clarity is if we're going to have a conversation and what is the outcome, because I think that's what Trustee Thompson asked for. Are we just going to have a conversation? Is there something that's going to come out of it? I think that's, do you have a goal? Is there?
Well, with all due respect, Madam Chair, it is almost impossible to speak in favor of adding this to the agenda with a 2/3 majority without at least addressing why it is important. So without going on for 10 minutes and getting in trouble with Robert's Rule of Order, I would suggest it's essential because this is a dreadful attack on the rights and responsibilities and powers of school boards. That's point one. It is therefore incumbent upon this board, and I would suggest every board across Ontario, to speak out against it. OPSPA, our collective organization, has written an excellent 12-page analysis of that piece of legislation and has indicated by chapter and verse where it goes wrong. That's an important document, but I don't think they were very strong in their conclusion. They basically say to the ministry, can't you please take our ideas seriously and make some revisions? Whereas, in fact, I would suggest it'd be more appropriate to demand that Bill 98 be withdrawn. But we need to have a discussion about this.
So you're now getting into the debating of what you would like. So I'm going to ask the question just for clarity for the trustees here. That oftentimes when we bring motions before the board, there is an outcome. It's just not about the discussion. What is it that you want? I think that's important. And also I'd like some clarification from, and I think it would be Crystal, in terms of what we had done previously, just so we're all on the same page. How's that? Is that okay? Do you understand why you're already getting into a debate and conversation as, ahead of the game? You're practicing, so I don't mind, but I just wanna try to hold you back.
Sure, well, as I explained, you can't speak
And,
to this motion without touching on the
Wow.
essence of it.
okay. Okay. But there's no clarification about what happened previously, so, okay. This is gonna be a straight up yes or no. And, Rochelle, you can't vote yet till I swear you in. Okay? Just to give you a heads up, no problem. Yeah, but you can't vote. Okay, so, all in favor of amending the motion? Agenda. Put your hands up. Okay, put your hands down. All in favor of not amending the agenda? That is defeated. Okay. So I'm going to go back and welcome. Okay. I'm just scrolling here. So we've already kind of done the agenda, for Rochelle, but we're going to swear you in so that you get full rights. So, you have before you, the oath that you're going to do, and you do have a choice of not doing the second part if you don't want to. So it's just the first part that is crucial.
Okay, so what's the difference then, I guess, between the two? Sorry, I know I should be.
So if I may respond, so the declaration is the first part, and that's the part that is mandatory.
Oh, yes, no, I mean.
Yeah, and then the second part is it's an oath of allegiance to the King Charles. So you may choose to do that or not to do that. That's a personal choice. So we welcome you. It's lovely to have you here at the table, and I know you just got here, so this is probably a little overwhelming to see all that's right here.
All right.
Okay.
Yep.
So if you're okay to do the declaration.
Oh, there we go, okay. Okay, you want me to introduce myself first or no?
Yes.
Okay, alright. So, Ani Bojo, Sharberchini Dishakaz, Saugeen First Nation Dobenjaba, Anishinaabe Indao. So, I don't know if anybody, I guess, has worked with Saugeen First Nation and or Nawash. But I was born and raised in Saugeen First Nation. I actually sat on the student trustee board as a First Nation senator when I was in high school. And it's very awesome to be back because just to be honest, I did struggle a little bit with, I guess with the board work just because of difficulties that we were having with my peers at the time, the Indigenous youth. And at that time, I guess I'm making a big point starting off, but I said I would be back someday, so here I am. So anyway, I'll do the declaration. So I, Rochelle Ritchie, do solemnly declare that I am not disqualified under any act from being a member of the Loire District School Board. I will truly, faithfully, impartially, and to the best of my ability execute the office of board member, and that I have not received and will not receive any payment or reward or promise therefore for the exercise of any partially or malversation. Okay. Or any other undue execution of the said office, and that I will disclose any pecuniary interest, direct or indirect, as required by and in accordance with the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act. And then I'm gonna sign and then declared before me at the town of Chesley in the province of Ontario this 16th day of May 2023. And I am going to not swear in at the bottom. Respectfully, I don't agree with that, so we grudge.
And I'd like to, excuse me, welcome Trustee Ritchie. So that's how I'll be addressing you, as you know, and very welcome and thank you for coming. And I remember you when you were a student trustee. So this, you know, it's really nice to have somebody who, you know, is familiar with the Blue Water Board. You know, came through, you know, through education in our board, and it's pretty awesome. So thank you very much. Okay, is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest in any of the items before you this evening? One? And go right ahead.
I'm responding to it earlier. I'm just wondering, Trustee Ritchie, it's great to see you, but I'm kind of looking at, are you an equal to us? Are you elected? Okay, because I didn't get that background information. I did ask about this on the agenda, and I wasn't really clear as to why you're here, but thank you.
Yeah, I would just like to respond to that. I'm a counselor for Saugeen First Nation, and there's actually one seat for Saugeen First Nation in Neashingming, Nawash. I believe there should be 2 seats here, so I'll be working on that while I'm here. But I'm here representing Saugeen First Nation and Neashingming for our Indigenous youth.
And just to clarify that, you know, and it's under the Education Act, is that there, right across the province, if school boards have tuition agreements with bands, you know, that they have a representative that sits on boards. Now, there's also a relationship to the number of, you know, Indigenous students that attend. So in fact, if it goes over a certain number, then they would be able to appoint 2 to the board, or it goes even higher. So, and that's, you know, it's under regulation. They're a full-fledged trustee with all voting rights and all the same opportunities and have the same responsibilities. Okay. Okay. Thank you. So I'm now going down at the minutes. That the minutes for the regular meeting of the board of April 18, 2023 be approved as printed. Can I have a mover? Thank you, Trustee Long. Second, Trustee Thompson. Is there any errors or revisions necessary? Go ahead, Trustee Typokin.
So, a couple of things, at 47 minutes and 26 seconds.
Microphone.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you.
There we go, thank you. At 47 minutes and 27 seconds of the April 18th, 2023 board meeting, Trustee Lutz had just finished commenting and the chair offered a reminder to all of us to keep our comments respectful. I was very confused by this, so I'm just going to ask, was this made in response to Trustee Lutz's comments? Secondly, D3, the chair confirmed that trustees would be reimbursed for attending the OPSPA AGM in June. I think that should be added. 3, according to D2, under communications, I did not request information. I specifically asked 25 questions with regard to the Get Real workshops. for which I'm still waiting for an informed response. And 4, I'd also like to point out that there was some ostracizing of a very key stakeholder group, aka parents, at the April 18, 2023 board meeting, including allegations of racism, sexism, homophobia, attitudes that are discouraged, and then in the information update for trustees that came in the email, Blue Water will focus on changing our language and attitudes around homophobia, racism, and sexism. I wanted to make it well known, so this is a public meeting, that I do not subscribe to issues of name calling and labeling parents at a school board meeting, and that whatever views are expressed here, both in public board meetings and in correspondence from superintendents, that they're made from a neutral perspective because the school board is publicly funded, with the understanding that legally when an organization is publicly funded, the organization, including this public school board, must remain neutral. I also noted with interest that when the labeling began, there was nothing said, even though the comments did not align with our board policies of diversity, equity, and inclusivity, or the trustee code of conduct. And one more point, as adults, we should all be able to converse freely without hateful comments about stakeholder groups whom we are elected to represent. And that includes whether you agree or disagree with them, because when we don't, it becomes readily apparent that diversity, we are not. And honestly, as witness, we as a board can't even argue that we're not even on the equity page. Thank you.
And thank you very much. Is there any other, suggestion revisions? Okay, I see none. So we're now at a place where I'm gonna say this, I'm unsure about all the suggested revisions here. So we might as well go one by one. Sorry. So just start with one. And it is part of the minutes of the meeting itself.
The meeting was a public meeting at 47 minutes and 26 seconds. Trustee Lutz had just finished commenting.
Okay, so we're just looking at the minutes. We're not going from a recording on the webpage. So we're just going on the minutes of that was recorded here and not, the webcast. So if you could stick to that, I'd really appreciate it. Okay.
The comment was made in the public meeting, but I can move forward. D3, the chair confirmed that trustees would be reimbursed for attending the opposite meeting in AGM in June. I think that should be added because there was some question as to whether we would be reimbursed if we went to the AGM.
Okay. We're going to stop right there, and I see that Bev Sims has her hand up. Bev?
Yes, I just wanted to clarify for everyone that the minutes of a board meeting include what was done and not what was said. We follow Robert's Rules of Orders in doing the minutes, so not all of the comments and it's what was done. So there was a discussion about something, but not the discussion doesn't go in the minutes.
Thank you very much for that clarification.
So again, the chair confirmed that trustees would be reimbursed for attending the OPSPA AGM in June. D3 does not record that in the minutes. I believe it should be recorded in the minutes.
Okay, so I just want to see where D3 is. So we don't actually include in there, and once again, that was a discussion, but it wasn't, first of all, anything to do with an action item or anything like that. And I see Bev's hand up again. Go ahead, Bev.
Sorry. The other thing to note about reimbursement is that there's a policy for trustees and reimbursement. So that's where you go. So the comment is, yes, if someone went through the process, they would be reimbursed, but they go to the policy and follow the steps, which involves the chair and
is actually to do with the actual minutes and the action.
So under D2, it says that I requested information. I did not request information. I specifically asked 25 questions with regard to the Get Real workshops, for which I again am still waiting a response. But it says under D2, trustee Janice Kaikonen requested information regarding the communication trustees had received about presentations being held in schools. So specifically, I asked about the Get Real presentation being held in schools, and I also did not request information. I asked questions of which I would like to, at some point, get a response.
So I think that we're getting into some, I'm just going to clarify this, some semantics here. So they're talking about you requested information, you're saying questions, but I would say you asked for some different information, and it was recorded in the minutes. So you're asking I was not lead chairing, so can you talk about that at all?
I was gonna say the same. It reflects that you asked questions, which is what our minutes would reflect. So I would agree it's reflected in the minutes.
Next, please.
I would just like to respond to that. There's a difference between requesting information and asking questions. The next one is about the language that was used by both the trustees and the superintendent when it came to the Get Real response. And I think that language should have been reined in at some point.
Can you
And I have
specifically, can you just clarify exactly what area you're talking about on the minutes?
Of course, there isn't a place in the minutes, you know that. But still, the language should have been reined in to our trustees publicly. This is a public meeting, it's all on the record now, I'm good. We don't need to continue.
And just to let you know, it's not reflected in the minutes, and I'm going to say that everybody at this table should be respectful to one another. And I don't disagree with you. How's that?
Perfect. Next time it happens, we can rein people in. Yes? Thank you.
Yes, there is a way to, and I know that when I've chaired this meeting before, that when, a comment was made that was not, in a professional manner, that I think you have seen me actually say something about that, and I absolutely have no problem whatsoever doing that again and again and again. So we're all equals here at the table. Thank you very much. Okay, so we're going to go back. That the minutes for the regular meeting of the board of April 18, 2023 be approved as printed. It was moved by Trustee Long and seconded by Trustee Thompson. All in favor? And
I oppose.
okay,
And
that's carried. Pardon?
I'd like that recorded.
Okay, so what happens is just for everybody's information here about a recorded vote, you have to ask that request a recorded vote prior to the vote. So at this point, it won't be reflected, but if, going onward, when you ask for a recorded vote, then that's what will happen. Okay, that the minutes of the committee of the whole board meeting on May 2nd, 2023 be approved as printed. Can I have a mover for that, please? Thank you, Trustee Long, and second, and Trustee Atkinson. Is there any revisions to that?
I just want to note that I did send regrets before the meeting. I wasn't just absent.
Thank you. Is there any business arising from okay, and all in favor and opposed, and that is carried. Next, is there any business arising from either of those minutes?
back to the 47 minutes and 26 seconds, but I guess if it's not in minutes, I can't. Okay, thank you.
Okay, we're under A5 now, and it is excellence in education, our pathways to skilled trades apprenticeships, and I would like to invite Superintendent of Education, LaFave, to speak to the report. I'm going to put it on the floor that the Blue Water District School Board received the Pathways to Skilled Trades Apprenticeships report for information. Can I have a mover? Thank you, Trustee Atkinson. Second, Trustee Thompson, and welcome.
Thank you very much, Chair Johnstone. It is my pleasure to bring to you the Excellence in Education Pathways to Skilled Trades Apprenticeships presentation. And as you can see out in the front foyer there, we have another staff report coming later around the skills competition. So you get to hear and see a lot about some of the amazing programming that we have for our students across Bruce and Grey counties through the skilled trades. And I'm going to call upon Kim Harbinson, our Pathways Administrator, to come forward for the first presentation, Pathways to Skilled Trades Apprenticeships. Coming up, thanks. Yeah, I'll do PowerPoint.
Good evening, everyone. I'm so pleased to be here and presenting this presentation tonight, and I've got my pen stuffed in my hair. There we go. Chair Johnston and fellow trustees, I'd like to talk about a few things. I am the Pathways Administrator with the Blue Water Education Center here at BAC. And part of my portfolio is OEAP and high skills major, and certainly looking at dual credits as well. So that's what I'd like to talk to you tonight. Oh, have we? Okay. So the first slide is about dual credits. And dual credits you're going to hear more and more about coming up. The Minister of Education has put more money into this next year. Dual credits simply mean that you can get a credit at high school and a credit at a college at the same time. So currently right now we have Saugeen First Nation is doing Habitat Build, and our Fanshawe College is in conjunction with the Habitat for Humanities, and these are our students working away on site. It's very exciting. So these students will get both a high school credit and college credit moving forward. We have currently 166 students who have graduated or who have completed a dual credit this year. So it's really important that we continue this opportunity for our students. I would like to share, Jamie Pettit did a Facebook kind of blitz about this. We had the most hits with this dual credit promotion of any other that he had seen for a bit. And what came with that is I don't know if it's fortunately or unfortunately had my name attached, so I received many emails about this. But I also received emails from students personally, which was fantastic. And emails such as, I'm taking a history credit, it's March, I have to graduate in June because I have post-secondary plans, and I will not get my history credit. If you let me into the dual credit in welding, for instance, I will graduate. And of course, that's exactly what the dual credit is used for. I had another email personally from a student who was going into welding at Jordan College next year. So this was a perfect opportunity for that student to be involved in that program as well. So that's part of the Pathways presentation. The next one is our, so this is our, next slide. So last Tuesday, so this is kind of recent, our Specialist High Skills Major program, part of the sector partnership that goes with the components of a high skills major include an innovation, creativity, and entrepreneurship, or what we call ICE Day. So colleagues and myself that I work with, we've spent a year, and I'm going to tell you there is an ethical piece that goes with an ICE sectored partnership day. The ethical piece for me was I met a lady at CMHA in Owen Sound last fall, And her and I had a conversation because she wanted to see the homeless people in Owen Sound have a community to live in. So the tiny house community was something that she had envisioned and was working towards. And I'm gonna get emotional. After I talked to this lady, she was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. So this was my envision for her to have this day. Keith is giving me Kleenex, that's good. Thank you. So what you'll see outside is we had 116 students across Blue Water come to Georgian College to complete their ICE component of the high skills major, part of the high schools major component. So what they did is we gave them a challenge, and the challenge was that they worked with community partners such as Bud Helpin, Dave Cool from Dave Cool Machine Shop. We had the people from Community Living, or CMHA, come and talk about their community garden. So we had the Mike, who actually runs the community garden in Owen Sound. He came and shared with our agricultural group, and our hospitality and tourism from JD came as well to do that. So we planned gardens, we planned little cafes, and we also designed, and you'll see them out there, the transportation and manufacturing students built the base of the tiny house, which was the trailer, which they went above and beyond. They really did. And then the construction people worked with former educator Bud Helpin, who's also a counselor at Saugeen Shores now, and he walked them through how to design a tiny house, and you'll see samples of them. So that was just a fantastic day. We also invited Bianca Metz up from Hamilton area. She went to the University of Guelph. She had just worked with the County of Grey in documenting a memorandum of understanding to build houses in Grey County. And as we know, more and more property or vacant land is being opened up so that people can build houses on it. So it was just a really fantastic day. The students received a couple certifications as well as experiential because they were at Georgian College and a reach ahead. So they did tick off a lot of boxes. The high skills major, along with the dual credit, increases the graduate rate because it engages students in school. The final aspect of the Pathways presentation is apprenticeship. Certainly that's something that Justin in the OYAP area, we do have more than 144 apprenticeshable trades. And I just want to give you some stats on this. If a student is involved in one or more of the above 3 that I've just talked about, it will increase their ability to graduate and receive their diploma and credits at a higher rate than students that don't participate in these 3 programs. Finally, I would like to talk about the future of technology. As you probably are aware, the government has also said in 2024, students will be required to graduate with a grade 9 tech course or a grade 10 tech course. I'd like to proudly announce that in Blue Water currently, 51% of all grade 9 students have already received their grade 9 tech, and 94 in grade 10 have already received their tech credit. What that means is we're in very, very good shape moving forward. I panicked when I saw this because I thought, where are we going to find 5 more tech qualified teachers? We don't need 5 more tech qualified teachers. We need to coach the 6% that don't have a grade 9 and grade 10 course and get them to the graduation finish line. So we're in very, very good shape. As you know, skilled trades in the future, that's where the jobs are going to be. And students will have exposure to that for sure in Blue Water. Thank you very much.
Move.
Uh-oh.
Okay, do we have any questions or comments? Go ahead, Trustee Lutz.
Thank you very much. First of all, I want to say I am in awe and absolutely love these programs, and if there is ever room for a really clumsy person who already has a high school diploma to come take some of these classes, I would absolutely love to, but I'm not sure the insurance would cover me given the clumsiness. But on a separate note, the new requirement for a grade 9 or 10 tech course, I love hearing that we have qualified teachers. My concern is that there are already a lot of required courses. Will this be a problem for any of our students? Because I know I'm already looking at the requirements, just going, it's a lot.
So in grade 9 and grade 10, especially grade 9, there are very few electives. You're correct in that. So you can take the business, you can take the arts. Arts is actually a qualified compulsory in grade 9 that you have to get an arts credit before you graduate. Phys ed and French are in there as well. But I think that we're in really, really good shape as far as getting that tech qualification, even if it's in grade 10 where they get it. The other thing I would suggest, and Keith might want to add to that, but there are our summer. I'm part of summer school with Keith as well. Our numbers in summer school are also going up. So things like civics and careers could be done in summer school, and then they're kind of ahead of the game, so that when they do have or want to take more electives, I think of the French immersion students. They often will take their civics and careers in summer school just to get ahead of that. And co-op is another one. Students in grade 10 can take co-op for their high skills major requirement. As long as it's coded correctly, it will count in grade 11.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments? Go ahead, Trustee Ritchie.
Hello.
Thank you. It's good to see you. Yeah, it's very good to see you. I didn't know if you guys had any stats on Indigenous students and your numbers and how much, because I know there's only so many students in certain schools. I didn't know if you were able to give a stat on that, and if you could find one, that'd be great.
I can't off the top of my
Yeah,
head.
that's okay.
I can tell you that I've worked really hard because right now, as you know, may not know, Saugeen District Secondary School, the manufacturing class or department doesn't have a teacher. I'm working with Georgian College right now to offer a dual credit out of that school. I've also talked to Melissa Snowden about getting, I've had a meeting with her to talk about doing more skilled trades at Saugeen First Nation.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you.
And go ahead, Trustee Craig.
I'm particularly interested in this concept of ICE, that is innovation, creativity, and entrepreneurship, because it strikes me that many of these professions or occupations are done by individual entrepreneurs or people in small businesses. And I know, having run a small business for 30 plus years, that innovation, creativity, and entrepreneurship are absolutely central to success. So I'm glad that is one of the focuses of this program.
Thank you. And any other further questions or comments? I don't see any. Thank you so very much. And we're just going to move on, and I'm going to put the motion back on the floor that the Blue Water District School Board receive the Pathways to Skilled Trades Apprenticeships report for information. It was moved by Trustee Atkinson and seconded by Trustee Thompson. All in favor? And that is carried. There are no delegations this evening, so now we're under, Committee of the Whole Board reports. So we have one, it's moved by Trustee Thompson, that the Blue Water District School Board consider for approval that Owen Sound District Secondary School students participate in the field trip Girls Rugby England Tour March 7th to the 16th, 2024. Can I have someone second that? Thank you, Trustee Long. Is there any conversation today concerning the motion before you? Okay, I see none. All in favor? And that is carried. Next, it's the business committee. Yes. Oh, okay. Sorry about that. I thought you were voting.
I will be abstaining for both of those because I wasn't here.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, next is, I am going to be, giving the business report because trustee Morgan is away. So I am just going to put up that business report. There is a motion that's coming from that. So, and it's one of the items that was for decision, but also at that meeting, we also talked about the 2023-24 education funding. We also had a presentation on the 2023-24 preliminary budget for consideration, and also, received a report outlining the details from the community planning and partnership meeting that was held in April, and then finally there was a report received the best practices to protect students and staff information concerning cybersecurity and safeguards. So now I am going to put the motion that came out of that report. That the Blue Water District School Board approve that the design for the new Kincardine District Senior School be constructed as a modified repeat design through single source procurement based on John Diefenbaker Senior School, and that the staff be instructed to develop the space template and obtain ministry approval to proceed with the project on this basis. Can I have a mover for that, please? Thank you, Trustee Long, and a second. Thank you, Trustee Craig. Any debate, further discussion? And I see none. All in favor? And that is carried. And there is no report from the committee of the board in camera today. And is there any notices of motion coming forward? Go ahead, Trustee Keiko.
I have three notices of motion. I will give you a copy, Crystal, when I'm done. Number one, whereas Blue Water District School Board distributes a trustee expense report which outlines trustee expenses for professional development, such as educational events and mileage to and from school board meetings, whereas trustees are reminded that the professional development budget portion as of April 30th, 2023 has been spent, showing a negative balance, whereas trustees are expected to attend school and community events, including school council meetings and graduation ceremonies, whereas trustees are responsible for good stewardship of resources, whereas the board is responsible for the hiring and expenses related to the Director of Education role. Resolve that Blue Water District School Board distribute a similar expense report using the same time period, outlining professional development and mileage expenses for the Blue Water District School Board Director of Education. My second motion is this: whereas the discussion of inclusive, safe and nurtured in a welcoming and protected school environments has emerged from the Get Real workshops in schools, whereas the Blue Water District School Board Director of Education has stated that scheduling of workshops is a school principal responsibility and not a trustee responsibility, whereas Blue Water District School Board prioritizes inclusive education, citing all children deserve to have a safe, caring and welcoming environment, whereas the Ontario Human Rights Code further legislates protected grounds as including age, ancestry, color, race, citizenship, ethnic origin, place of origin, creed, which aka religious beliefs including persons of faith and or widely held beliefs or non-beliefs, disability, family status, marital status including single status, gender identity, gender expression, receipt of public assistance and housing only, record of offenses and employment only, sex including pregnancy and breastfeeding, and sexual orientation. Whereas I believe trustees should be proactively getting ahead of the curve in terms of the health, safety, and success of our learning environments, and that Blue Water District School Board should provide assurances that a student entering a washroom comes out dressed. Be it resolved, I move that all washrooms constructed in Blue Water District School Board be private and independent, single occupancy, one-person facilities, and that Blue Water District School Board make concrete plans to ensure all school facilities, including single occupancy washrooms, showers, and change rooms as soon as possible. My third motion is this. Whereas Director Wilder stated that parents do receive communications about upcoming school events, including workshops like Get Real, for example, and whereas Trustee Lutz suggested at the same April 18, 2023 board meeting that it would be a huge administrative burden for principals and vice principals to communicate separately to trustees about upcoming events, resolved that Blue Water District School Board's trustees receive any and all communications concerning upcoming school events and workshops at the same time using the same communications protocols as parents and guardians. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We are now at the notice of motion, and it was received on May 2nd, 2023. It's in order, and it was put forward by Trustee Craig. I am going to put the motion on the floor, and I'm going to ask you to move it, and then a second, and then you can speak to the motion first. Whereas Blue Water District School Board is firmly committed to fostering a school environment that is respectful and supportive of students and education workers regardless of their race, religion, or sexual gender orientation. And whereas we are supportive of the sexual education curriculum of the Ministry of Education that requires that our schools at appropriate age levels teach concepts of sexual orientation, gender identity, and anti-racism, therefore be it resolved that the Blue Water District School Board welcomes workshops and presentations by both internal or related and external groups in our schools that combat homophobia, transphobic, and racist language and attitudes, and promote compassion, and will continue to proactively promote diversity, equity, and inclusion for all students in all respects. And the mover is Trustee Craig. Can I have a seconder? Thank you, Trustee Atkinson. And Trustee Craig, would you like to speak to your motion?
I would, yes. First of all, I want to say that I'm proud to be a member of this Board of Education. And partly that is because this board upholds the values that are expressed in that motion. I'm also proud to be a member of the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee, because the role of that committee within this board is to promote those values, to promote respect for all people regardless of where they're at. The motion came about because some people expressed consternation, to put it politely, at the inclusion of Get Real among organizations that are allowed to make presentations in our schools, an organization which in fact promotes those values that I've just spoken to. But the motion was written to make it more general, to make it apply across the board around issues of anti-racism, anti-homophobia, and other values that this board has espoused, not just in the 6 or 7 months that I've been a trustee, but for quite a few years. Values which, by the way, are also promoted by the Ministry of Education, even under the Conservative government that is in power today. That's encouraging. I want to point out that this is therefore really just a confirmation of the values that this board has been expressing for quite some time. But it cannot be taken for granted that we can win this battle for the minds and hearts of people who live in gray and Bruce counties. And as proof of that, I will point out that the governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis, who is a likely candidate for the Republican nomination for president in the 2024 election, has just banned Florida State universities from using any public funding to promote diversity, equity, and inclusion. In other words, that state has gone so far in the opposite direction that they are contemptuous of the right to promote diversity, equity, and inclusion. We therefore have to be vigilant that these kinds of values are not imported to Canada. And this is a small effort on behalf of this particular board to make that clear, to state our values, to confirm our values.
Thank you. Okay. So do we have any comments, debates, discussion? Go ahead, Trustee Kai-Coker.
So I noticed on the top of this, or the whereas, that we include race and religion, but then when we get to the actual motion, they're just kind of cast aside, which is problematic because it goes against the Human Rights Code. I'm also concerned again about this language. I don't know where this language comes in promoting and putting forward a motion that also includes a judgment and a bias. I think that overall we should adopt the Human Rights Code in its full form, and I think that the protected grounds, which I've read in my motion, but I'll read them again, the protected grounds.
I'm just gonna, do you have an amendment to the motion? Are you asking for an amendment? I'm just trying to be helpful here, Trustee Kai-Coker.
I never thought of that, but I guess I could put an amendment forward. I think that we should take out the language that says we're combating anything. We're school board trustees who represent a very good, large stakeholder group called parents, and I think that all that language needs to go. I also think, you're asking for an amendment, so I'm working on it.
Just one at a time.
Okay, so let's take out that combat homophobic, transphobic, and racist language and at least get that part out of there, because that's not what we say. We don't do that. That's not inclusive, it's not diversity, and it's certainly not equitable to every student that's in our area. In terms of promoting diversity, equity, and inclusion for all students in all respects, as I said at the last meeting, we need to include all the protected grounds that are in the Human Rights Code. We can't pick and choose which protected grounds in the Human Rights Code that we're going to accept. And I can read them if you would like me to read them again. The protected grounds include age, ancestry, color, race, citizenship, ethnic origin, place of origin, creed, and again, religion or non-religion, disability, I'll go back to creed, widely held beliefs, whichever you are, disability, family status, marital status, gender identity, gender expression, receipt of public assistance, record of offenses, sex and sexual orientation. If we're going to pick and choose which of those protected grounds we are going to put into a motion, I truly believe that we need to include all of the protected grounds that comes with the Human Rights Code in our motions.
Okay, so I'm going to say this. I'm going to put that amendment on the floor. So it's going to strike out, I think, combat homophobia, transphobia, and racial language and attitudes and promote. So you're saying strike all of the rest of that sentence out and then add all the other groups. Although I'm going to ask for some clarification from Trustee Craig, is that I don't, Trustee Craig, could you speak to that you're focused, your amendment or your motion is just focused on a certain area? So you can speak to that at this point, just so there's for some clarity for the trustees around the table.
Well, I think it is a fact that in Ontario and in the Blue Water Board, we are fighting against homophobia, transphobia, and racism. That's what this resolution says, and it would not be appropriate to delete those words because that's the essence of our concern and the essence of our commitment to this community.
Okay. Thank you. I just need some clarification. So Trustee Kai-Coker has put this amendment on the floor. is there someone that is going to second this amendment? This amendment that she's put on the floor?
Can I ask a question about the
A
amendment?
clarification?
Yeah, clarification.
Go right ahead.
Sorry. I apologize. So with the amendment, what would the final paragraph actually read?
Well, let's go back to my beginning point in paragraph 2. I'm going to answer the question.
It has to be what your amendment is, Janice.
Literally, what will it read?
Oh,
Yeah, what you want it to say.
I wanted to include what the whereas is in paragraph 2. So I can say that Blue Water District School Board welcomes workshops and presentations by both internal, board-related, and external groups in our schools that promote compassion in accordance with all of the protected grounds in the Ontario Human Rights Code, and will continue to proactively promote diversity, equity, and inclusion for all students in all respects, including race, religion, and sexual gender orientation.
No, it wasn't that. I was just because I know I can see Crystal over here, writing it down. So, it's important.
Can I just make a comment?
If it's about it,
It's about the motion on the floor.
okay, so can we just wait till, do you have this all down, Crystal? Okay, so now we have, it's an amendment's on the floor, and it has been moved and seconded. So now, was it seconded? No, it hasn't been seconded. So, is there anybody who's gonna be seconding this amendment? Okay, Trustee Long is now seconding the amendment. Now that the amendment is on the floor, so we're not talking about the main motion, just the amendment. And go ahead, Trustee Ritchie.
So I guess because it was seconded, can we find the wording for it? Because I agree with Trustee Craig that he is trying to bring light to what is being taught in the schools right now. And I'm not against the amendment, but I feel like it takes away what Trustee Craig is trying to point out. This has been ongoing in the schools, and I can speak to that for myself as I attended SBSS, and I actually spoke on racism. And while I'm here, I will be focusing on that as well. So I really appreciate you bringing that to the floor. I really appreciate that motion. But if the amendment's on the floor, I'm going to abstain because I feel like it takes away from the purpose of this motion.
So, abstain just means you don't vote. You can vote for or against or abstain.
Well, I'm going to keep, I'm just saying I don't agree with the amendment.
Well, then if you don't agree with the amendment, then you can vote against it.
Okay, can I vote against it? And then
Yeah.
that will be my reasoning as to what I just stated.
So when I call for the vote, okay? That's clarification because I think I knew what you were meaning.
Yeah.
Okay, so further comment concerning the amendment on the floor. Concerning the amendment is, okay, and that was exactly the right time. I knew that. Okay, so it's going to be a recorded vote, because it's a request and that is not debatable. Okay, is there any further comment or question concerning the amendment on the floor? Go ahead, Trustee Long.
Through the chair, can Trustee Kaikkonen describe how the amendment will change the practice of the motion? Just simply.
It's not that far from my perspective.
I think that when we look at the whereas in the second paragraph, Blue Water District School Board is firmly committed to fostering a school environment that is respectful and supportive of students and education workers regardless of their race, religion, or sexual gender orientation. Except that when we actually get to the motion, there's nothing about race or religion or any of those topics. It is specifically to do with sexual or gender orientation. And it uses language that is traditionally used against anybody who might bring forward their religion or faith in terms of also being fully represented as inclusive, diverse, and equity included.
Okay, is there any further debate concerning the amendment on the floor? Trustee Long.
Through the chair, yes, when we have an opportunity to demonstrate inclusivity and then a wide open door policy, such as leaving the terms of, was it religion and creed or race in the policy wording, yeah, that's why I like leaving it in, just to keep those doors wide open. Thank you.
Can you repeat what you just said at the very end, Trustee Long, because I actually didn't
sorry.
hear you.
Just for the purpose of keeping the doors wide open, demonstrating inclusivity. I like the idea of leaving the terms religion, race, and or creed in the policy.
Okay, is there any further questions or comments about the amendment? Okay, I don't see any further. Can I have the amendment, please?
Resolved that Bluewater District School Board. Do you want? No, you should say it out loud so people can hear. Resolved that Bluewater District School Board welcomes workshops and presentations by both internal, board-related, and external groups in our schools that promote compassion in accordance with all of the protected grounds in the Ontario Human Rights Code, and will continue to proactively promote diversity, equity, and inclusion for all students in all respects.
Including religion and race.
Apologies, I didn't hear.
Thank you, and that was moved by the amendment was Trustee Kai-Koken and seconded by Trustee Long, and because it is a recorded vote, so it's just that, okay. So all those in favor of the amendment, put your hands up. So we have Trustee Kai-Koken and Trustee Long. Now you can put your hands down. All those who are voting against the amendment to the motion, put your hands up. And the nays have it. So now we're going to go back to the main motion. And so, is there further discussion about that? Go right ahead, Trustee Lutz.
Thank you very much. I would like to request a recorded vote for the motion. And I would also just like to say that I trust our administrators and teachers in schools to bring in fantastic programming, and that is really what this is saying, that we are supporting their ability to bring in good programs that support our vision and mission and support our students. So I think it is great that we are reaffirming our support for them and the values we uphold. Thank you.
And Trustee Kai-Koken?
Again, whereas says that it is inclusive of race, religion, or sexual gender orientation. If we are bringing in workshops and presentations, and the whereas says it is inclusive of race, religion, and sexual gender orientation, that needs to be included in the motion, or the whereas is of non-effect. Further, the language that is used against anybody who speaks out against anything that might be sexual or gender oriented or gender affirming or gender transitioning usually comes with homophobic, transphobic, and racist language. This is not the language that we do at public school board meetings. We are publicly funded, and legally that means we must stay neutral. We have a human rights code. We We refer to it quite often in our policies, and the Human Rights Code has a number of protected grounds, and as such, we cannot pick which protected ground we're going to choose and put into a motion. We need to cover all the protected grounds if we're going to be publicly funded.
Okay, is there any further comment or question? I don't see any, but Trustee Craig, it's your motion, you get to speak to it last.
Very briefly, I think the words combat homophobia, transphobia, and racist language and attitudes is central to this resolution, because what it calls upon this board to do, and its teachers and staff to do as well, is to combat those kinds of negative and destructive attitudes. So for that reason, I would not be at all happy if this was made more softer and more general by simply referring to diversity, equity, and inclusion. I think this is a battle. This is a battle for the hearts and minds of our students and our whole society, and it's a battle that we have to win to convince people who do not see the legitimacy and science behind fighting.
Trustee Craig, I'm just gonna kind of stop you there. I'm sorry. You know, this is about the motion on the floor. It needs to remain germane and, you know, to the school board. I'm just going to stop you there. You know, I think that we're about the positive pieces of this motion. I'm sorry. I just need to do that. If you don't mind, I understand that, and I think that your motion, from my respect, was well written.
With all due respect, Madam Chair, I appreciate where you're coming from, but I don't appreciate being cut off as I was trying to make that point. And it's one I feel very strongly about the need to combat these negative attitudes in our society. But so be it.
Okay, so Trustee Craig is the last speaker to the motion. Would you like me to read the whole motion again?
Yes.
Thank you, Trustee Long. Whereas the Blue Water District School Board is firmly committed to fostering a school environment that is respectful and supportive of students and education workers regardless of their race, religion, or sexual gender orientation. And whereas we are supportive of the sexual education curriculum of the Ministry of Education that requires that our schools at appropriate age levels teach concepts of sexual orientation, gender identity, and anti-racism. Therefore, be it resolved that the Blue Water District School Board welcomes workshops and presentations by both internal, board-related, and external groups in our schools that combat homophobic, transphobic, and racist language and attitudes and promote compassion, and will continue to proactively promote diversity, equity, and inclusion for all students in all respects. It was moved by Trustee Craig. It was seconded by Trustee Atkinson. It is a recorded vote, so all in favor. Thank you. And those opposed? The yeas have it.
Abstain.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. I'm moving to B4, which is there are no community establishments or appointments. And now we're moving to the Student Senate report, and I'd like to welcome Student Trustee Snow.
The Senate met on May 2nd at 5 p.m. We discussed our environmental initiatives campaign, and that was our most important subject that night, but Ethan's going to talk more about it later throughout the meeting. Moving on to some athletics, we hosted track and field BAAs yesterday in Kincardine, and many athletes will head to CWASA to represent BAA in Brantford next week. BAAs and CWASA qualifiers for rugby and soccer are also happening this week and next. Successful teams will move on to CWASA, and hopefully some will make an appearance at OFSA as well. Within the schools, Peninsula Shores is presenting one-act performances to retirement homes in Wyerton. They are also re-implementing composting as a part of an environmental initiative. At Kincardine District, physics students attended Canada's Wonderland on Friday for a hands-on lesson and to enjoy the roller coasters. The science and biology classes are heading to Toronto next week to visit the Science Centre and Aquarium for another hands-on lesson. At Saugeen District, they are having a hypnotist performing at their school in the coming week. Students are able to sign up for an appointment with this hypnotist. Bruce Peninsula secondary students are all heading to Footprints in Tobermory for some camping between May 30th and June 1st as a class together. Students from JDSS are heading to New York for an art trip later this week. I believe Ethan is going. There are also many Spirit Days and Spirit Weeks happening this month and next, of course, because we're heading to the end of the school year within all of the schools in our board. And then prom, of course, is a big topic. Many schools are having their prom in the upcoming weeks. My prom is actually next Saturday, and OSDSS, Walkerton, Grey Highlands, and Bruce Penn all have theirs in the next few weeks as well. Otherwise, we haven't been discussing much besides the environmental initiatives, but I'm going to leave that for Ethan to discuss later more in depth. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and please stay there. So now I'm going to put the motion on the floor that the Blue Water District School Board received the 2022-2023 student trust. Sorry about that. I keep on scrolling down. So go ahead for questions.
It seems to me that your year goes very quickly, and I'm assuming that perhaps as you started in September, you had lots of goals of what you wanted to accomplish. Did you find that you were able to accomplish most of them, or would your advice to the next Senate be to focus a little more, that you'd have to focus? It seems like your time is very quick.
Yeah, for sure, it's very quick only being here twice a month, but I think we accomplished a fair amount, and having the new student forums implemented this year was a lot for us. We had a lot of input on that, and that was very helpful, I assume, for you guys as well, just to have that student voice and what was going to happen at those forums. And then, of course, we had a lot of submissions for the environmental initiatives and what the schools are doing, and that was a bit of an enticement for this environmental challenge to implement different green solutions within schools. So yeah, we did meet our goals that we set in September, and I'm hoping that the next Senate does the same and maybe reaches some different goals so we can spread that out.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Go ahead, Trustee Lutz.
I just want to thank you very much for the great report and for highlighting all the wonderful things that each school is doing. I love hearing about how different each school is, and yet how, this is going to sound weird, but how fantastic they all are in their own way. Feels weird saying that. I did not enjoy my time at high school, so I'm always excited to hear about people enjoying their time at high school. So thank you all for bringing that excitement and energy, and I'll say feel-good news stories to us. We all really appreciate it, so thank you.
Further comments or questions? I don't see anybody. Thank you very much. You did a great report, and you did a lot of really good work, and I really like the fact that you got a really great response in terms of the environmental initiative. I know that, we represent the same area, and I know that the environment in our area is very important. I know it across the board when I talk to students that the they are very concerned about the environment and particularly what goes on in their schools, and so thank you for all of you spearheading that. Okay, so now I'm not jumping ahead, but I'm going to put it on the floor that the Blue Water District School Board received the 2022-2023 Student Trustees and Senator Recognition Report for information. I would like a mover. Thank you, Trustee Long, and second, Trustee Lutz. And I'm going to invite, of course, he's already there, Superintendent of Education LeVay to speak to the report.
So you're stuck with me for 4 reports here. As Lori said earlier today, it's like the Keith show today. So, thank you very much for calling me up. And I have Director Wilder coming up, who will be handing out some certificates. And I have our chair, John Stone, who's going to be handing out a water bottle to each of our senators and trustees. Could you all line up here as we practice?
Reminds me of graduation.
Yes. So, during the 22-23 school year, a student senator from each of the secondary schools in Blue Water represented the voice of students across the district. The Student Senate is invited to attend board meetings and committee meetings. The 2 student trustees had the opportunity to represent their peers each month to share best practices and specific needs of students in Blue Water District School Board. For their support and commitment to students in Blue Water District School Board, we would like to recognize their contributions. Student trustee from Saugeen District Secondary School, Rose Kiwagishe. From Kincardine District Senior School, Eve Snowblin. Student senators from Bruce Peninsula District School, Cole Hamill. Not here this evening is Georgian Bay Community Schools, Marshall Wilson. Grey Highlands Secondary School, Jacob Thompson. John Diefenbaker Senior Secondary School, Ethan Enns. Not here this evening, Owen Sound District Secondary School, Lauren McKibben. Peninsula Shores District School, Sophia Hepburn. Also from Peninsula Shores District School, Molly Solomon. From Saugeen District Senior School, Shelby Morris. So while you're standing there and posing, and Kim's gonna snap the picture, I do want to say, when I took over this part of the portfolio, I really wanted this portfolio because Cheryl Elliott, who retired last year, she had it previously, and she always spoke about it. She just talked about, they're my students, my kids. We don't say kids, but they're my kids. And Lori was the same way. When she had this same responsibility, she just loved it. And I see why, because I've gotten the chance to get to know these young people very well. They're going to go on to great and amazing things in their lives, and I feel really privileged to have worked with them this year. We still have 2 more meetings, but thank you very much for everything that you've done this year. Thanks again.
School Board received the 2022-2023 Student Trustee and Senators Recognition Report for information. It was moved by Trustee Long and seconded by Trustee Lutz, all in favor? And that is carried. The next one also has to do with student trustees and senators, and so I'll put the motion on the floor that the Blue Water District School Board receive the 2023-2024 student trustees report for information. I would move her for that, please. Thank you, Trustee Thompson, and seconded Trustee Atkinson and Superintendent Lefebvre.
Thank you very much, Chair Johnstone. Again, it's my pleasure to be introducing to you the 2023-2024 student trustees and senators. They are situated over underneath the clock over there behind the superintendents, and I'm going to be asking them to stand up when I get to their names. We did purposefully have them here on the May 16th date simply because we knew we had the skilled trades, the SOS trailer here, and I wanted them to see how much we appreciate the work that our student senators and trustees have done, so that they could see their peers receive those accolades. So the election process for student senators took place in secondary schools in the spring of 2023. The following group of students were elected or acclaimed to the role of student senator and will represent the student voice at board committee meetings. During the 2023-2024 school year, 2 student trustees elected by their student senate peers will have the opportunity to sit at the board table each month to share best practices and specific needs of students. The following student senators were elected to start office in September 2023. From Bruce Peninsula District School, Mackenzie Hawk. From Georgian Bay Community School, Bonnie Kwan Bentley. From Grey Highlands Secondary School, Trinity Betchen. From John Diefenbaker Senior School, Ethan Enns. From Kincardine District Senior School, Carter Snoblin. From Owen Sound District Secondary School, Macy Robinson. From Peninsula Shores District School, Bree Dales. Also from Peninsula Shores District School, Tanis Eby. From Saugeen District Senior School, Afnan Shahid. And from Saugeen District Senior School, Lexi Ritchie. And from Walkerton District Community School, Samantha Ostreicher. So we had a virtual meeting on April 3rd, 2023 with our new senators and our new senators and our outgoing senators for an orientation meeting. But also at that time, we had elections and voting for the 2 trustees that would represent the Student Senate next year at the table, at the board table. And these 2 student trustees that were elected by their peers for 2023-2024 are Macy Robinson and Ethan Enns. We wish them all a productive year that will be filled with many learning and leadership opportunities.
And because it is a motion on the floor, do you have any questions or comments? Go ahead, Trustee Ritchie.
I was just gonna make a comment to the trustees, like the upcoming and then also the ones that just got acknowledged. I do appreciate your work, even though this is my first meeting as a trustee. I've been where you are, and I just encourage you all, regardless of what you do after this, or even while you come here, don't be afraid to voice anything that you need to bring forward. And I know that it can be intimidating, but we're here to listen to you, and you are able to make an impact, even if even if you gotta speak your truth, even if your voice shakes, speak your mind, speak your truth and what you stand in. And I really hope everybody around this table respects that. And then like I said, anytime any students have to bring anything up, I hope that we listen open-mindedly and understandingly, because these are our future and we need to uphold them, especially the ones that are unfortunately discriminated against. Any questions?
Any other further questions or comments? Go ahead, Trustee Kaikoken.
I'd just like to say to the ones who are leaving that we loved having you all here, and to the ones that are coming, we welcome you with open arms.
And Trustee Craig?
Just briefly, there seems to be, I have been informed, a movement afoot among student trustees in Ontario to ask the provincial government to change the law so that you would have the power to put forward motions and vote on motions. I would like to say I personally support that and would, it's entirely up to you, but if you decide to move forward with advocating that to our provincial government, I would applaud you.
Any other further questions or comments? Go ahead, Trustee Long.
Through the chair, pursuant to what Trustee Craig mentioned, the Rainy River District did have a student initiative with that, and I guess at our next board meeting at the beginning of June would be the time for me to bring that up as new business in a proposed motion. I'd like to get in on that if we haven't already. It sounds wonderful.
I'm going to speak to this. This is out of order because it's not actually speaking to the motion. I know that Trustee Craig knows that. But I'm just going to say that I support the student voice, and that it's really that would be something that I believe that the student trustees and senators would have a discussion about, and then have a conversation with a trustee on the board to bring that forward. And I don't believe it's for the adults to initiate that. I think that student trustees, we want to ensure that they have their voice. So I'm just going to say that. I do know, I'm just going to be clarification here, that back in the late fall, I did bring information forward to the Student Senate and trustees about information provincially that was going on, and put them in touch with Otsego, the president there, and from that is really a part of the decisions that Student Senate and trustees will be making on their own. And thank you very much. Is there any further comments or questions? Go ahead, Trustee Kaikoken.
In part of my welcome, maybe the first thing that you should do is look at Minister Lecce's Bill 98. He's trying to get rid of the school board, so it might be a good place to start if you want to be an activist. Thank you.
Is there any further questions or comments concerning the motion before you? I don't see any, but I'd just like to really, on behalf of the board, and thank you very much to the outgoing Student Senate and student trustees, and also very much welcome to the new Student Senate and trustees, and may you have as successful a term as the ones the Senate that is now leaving. So thank you. So back to the motion that the Blue Water District School Board receive the 2023-2024 Students, Trustees, and Senators Report for information. It is moved by Trustee Thompson and seconded by Trustee Atkinson. All in favor? And that has carried. Next, we're here, and of course, there we have Superintendent Buffet. He's going to speak again, and this is the motion that the Blue Water District
Thank you, Chair Johnstone. Because you've probably heard enough from me, I'm going to turn it over to Justin Graham, who is our OYAP recruiter, and OYAP stands for Ontario Youth Apprenticeship Program, and he is going to speak to you about the skills competitions, how well some of our students did, and I will operate the PowerPoint for you. You ready? Yep. Okay. Justin.
Thanks, Keith. Good evening, Chair Johnstone and trustees. Like he said, I'm Justin Graham, the OEAP recruiter, so the Ontario Youth Apprenticeship Program recruiter. I just want to start off by thanking you guys for having me set up the SOS trailer, so our Skills Opportunity Showcase trailer. It's always hard to explain to people what it is. I don't think it always does it justice, so it's nice that you got to see it firsthand and try it out, and then got to speak to some of you about it too. It was great to hear from Trustee Atkinson just regarding one of the students she knows, that we brought the trailer to their school, and they weren't really engaged in their studies, but then after the trailer, it kind of showed them the pathway of the trades, and they are engaged now. So that's where I think the trailer is there for, just to show them that there is that pathway. They don't necessarily have to take that one, but just give them that option. So to jump on that, that's kind of the building block to get them to the skills trades competition. So this is the competition across all Ontario. It just kept getting bigger and bigger. And it's the first time since COVID that all the competitions were running all together, which is great. And this is my first time seeing it too. So I suggest if anybody has a chance to go check it out. It's the size of about 11 football fields. They bring in an airplane to do aircraft mechanic trade. There's about 15 cooking stations, so you can think of all the stoves, refrigerators, all that stuff. And then it is a big production and a great opportunity for our students. So in partnership with Georgian College, this pictured up here is our regional competition at Georgian College. So this is kind of held through Blue Water District School Board to see who gets to go to Toronto and compete in the skills. So you can see the welding and culinary that we did. So each person in the welding got an OEF sweater and a welding helmet to take home, and then the top three also got prizes. Then the culinary on the right, kind of same idea. All competitors got sweaters, and then they got a handheld mixer as a present, and then the top three got some prizes as well. So then after that, so the top three in Doan Sound get to go to Georgian College in Barrie. So this is the qualifying competition. So it's across 7 school boards, and this is to narrow it down to who gets to go to the big event in Toronto. So in our region, it's Wellington, Trillium Lakes, Simcoe, Peterborough, Clarington, and Kawartha. And out of all those school boards, they only take the top 3. So this is where we have Torin, who got first place actually at it, which is remarkable, and got to go on and compete in Toronto. And he's actually one of our dual credit students as well. So he's been participating at Georgian College throughout this school year with Chef Bevan. It was just nice kind of seeing everything he made. That I don't even know the names of it, but when he was doing his interview to get in the dual credit program, like a lot of these students, their favorite meals to cook were pasta, pretty simple dishes, and to see kind of what he got to make in all different styles is pretty cool. So these are a couple pictures at the Toronto event. So on the left, that's our automotive service technology competition. In the middle, we have a student from JD for precision machining, and then the robotics on the far right as well. So like I said, you kind of picture that 11 football field size, and all the different trades that kind of Kim mentioned before, the 144 different ones are being done. So hairstyling, cosmetics, all the way to bricklaying, 2-house carpentry building. So there's a lot to go into it, and it's great for these students to kind of go through it and kind of see where they stack up against all Ontario. So then this is our winner from the Toronto skills competition. So we have Nicholas Embro from Saugeen District Senior School. So he actually got silver in auto service technology, which is a great feat. So he finished second in all Ontario, and then gold gets to go to nationals. I wasn't sure where. Well, I think France maybe. Whitby. Oh, Winnipeg. France. I get myself. France after that. So yeah, like a remarkable feat for students to go against all of Ontario and finish in the top 3. And they do hold a great awards ceremony. A lot of business companies there. They also get gifts and job opportunities from it too. So thank you.
I'm just going to share just a little bit about our level 1 OEAP students that are culinary and welding. When they complete the program, there's a graduation ceremony that takes place at Georgian College, and last year that was probably one of the highlights for me, attending that and hearing from some of the parents who literally are in tears and saying, I didn't know if my child was going to graduate. This was such an important pathway for them. They found what works for them, and they're telling me, they're saying, he's finishing or she's finishing. Probably as many females as there are males there in the welding group or the carpentry group last year. And once they've completed this, they're going to be working towards an apprenticeship, and they've got everything lined up, and they're just so positive and excited about the direction that their life is taking. And it's all because of the level 1 programming that we have, the programs that are taking place through the OEAP at Georgian College. So it's fantastic. And on a personal note, Justin gave me the contact for the OEAP recruiter in Ottawa, and my nephew, who was really not engaged in school and I was afraid he was going to drop out, is actually now on an apprenticeship pathway right now. And my sister and I are just like, it's my little sister, you got to look after your little sister. I'm so excited because Cooper seems to be on a good path right now. So he's excited to tell me about it, and that's fun, and that's what it's all about. So helping students. So thank you.
Okay, don't go away. Go ahead, Trustee Thompson.
It's a huge accomplishment either way, but is this similar to in science fair when a person wins an award, they might meet the gold standard or the silver standard? Or are these students actually being chosen kind of the best of the show?
Yeah, so the second one, so the best of the show. Nicholas is the only one that got silver in the auto service technology. So.
Any further questions or comments? Go ahead, Trustee Lutz.
Thank you very much for this presentation, and it's great that we're getting to acknowledge these students. Will there be a press release or even social media blast or anything just to, champion these fantastic achievements by our students at all? Thank you.
Yeah. These like the school boards have already. So the Saugeen District's secondary school put out Nicholas's award, and same with the other schools as well. On I think Facebook.
Clearly, I wasn't online that day.
Yeah, no, it's all. You can go back and check it out.
I will.
Yeah. Then our school board also retweeted it. So
Perfect.
yeah.
So my fault, not yours.
Yeah. No, all good.
Can't catch everything. Yeah. That was a good question. Is there any further comments and questions? Go ahead, Trustee Long.
Through the chair, great to see us living that phrase, learning today, leading tomorrow. You talk to anybody who's trying to get anything related to a tradesperson done. We don't, this board doesn't exist, nor do our schools or students exist in a cultural vacuum. We graduate our students and say, okay, go out into the world, have a happy life, and getting a tradesperson is often a tough thing to find. So wonderful when we make programs like this a priority. That's stuff we do. Thanks.
And any further, go ahead, Trustee Atkinson.
3 words. Thank you, Justin.
Thanks.
I don't see any further comments or questions, but thank you very much, and I also want to thank you very much for bringing your stuff today. I'm going to definitely work on my digger stuff so I can be superintendent with Dave next year. And now I'm going to put the motion back on the floor that the Blue Water District School Board receive the 2023 Skills Competition Report for information. It was moved by Trustee Lutz and seconded by Trustee Atkinson. All in favor? And that is carried. Next, that the Blue Water District School Board receive the Student Senate Environmental Initiatives Challenge Report for information. Can I have a mover for that, please? Thank you, Trustee Lutz, and seconded Trustee Craig. And welcome again.
Thank you, Trustee Chair Johnstone. This initiative came out from the Student Senate. They wanted to make the environment a focus for them this year and the work that they were doing across the system. So together we came up with the idea of the Environmental Challenge, Initiative Challenge, that would align with Earth Day 2023, which was just last month. So I'm going to ask one of the 2 people who really spearheaded this. It was Lauren McKibben from OSD and Ethan Enns, who really took a lead on this one with the team. So I'm going to ask Ethan to come up here and please present the report. Thank you. You don't have to emphasize how short I am.
Hello everyone, thank you for your time, and I'd like to welcome the new trustees. It's so good to have you here for this meeting. So members of the Student Senate celebrated Earth Day with an environmental initiative challenge encouraging environmental stewardship. Schools were invited to highlight projects or efforts that are practiced every day in their school buildings or that they wish to implement that encourages environmental initiatives to reduce, reuse, and recycle. So as Eve was saying earlier, we were very, very happy with the amount of submissions. We actually got more than 60 submissions from schools across our board with environmental initiatives that they've been doing. So some examples of these are community cleanups, planting plants on the school property, rechargeable batteries, reusing envelopes, turning the lights off to reduce electricity consumption, and starting environmental clubs. So really we're seeing like over 60 great things for the environment that we've been doing in our schools this year, which is so good to see. So the winners for our contest were Beavercrest Community School for plastic-free bake sales, Bruce Peninsula District School for Goose Paper, which stands up for good on one side, and last but not least, John Diefenbaker Senior School for pollinator gardens, which we are going to be planting very soon. These very learning experience demonstrate how our system and staff supports and promotes, where possible, the implementation of environmental procedures, practices, and programs that are consistent with healthy, safe, and the sustainable environment. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Go ahead, Trustee Lutz.
Thank you very much for bringing forward this report, and it's great to see just how many submissions you got and that you were able to see all this through, because as we've stated before, you don't have a lot of time to, pick a mandate, put it into focus, and then actually complete something, and you have all done a phenomenal job at that this year, and that really deserves to be heavily recognized, and I hope you all feel really, really good about it. I know you're focused on end of term and feeling really, really crushed by that, but so take a few minutes to feel really, really good about what you've done here, and then go back to your textbooks. So thank you very, very much.
Any other questions or comments?
Just a round of applause.
I'm going to put the motion back on the floor that the Blue Water District School Board received the Student Senate Environmental Initiatives Challenge Report for information. It was moved by Trustee Lewis. It was seconded by Trustee Craig. All in favor? And that is carried. We're now down to communications and correspondence. So under correspondence, we received a letter from Minister Lecce has sent a memorandum regarding student learning and community services, setting out his expectations about how certain school boards and schools are not allowing parents in their police service uniform to attend certain school events such as parent days and career fairs, and that's what his letter was about. I'm just going to let you know that that's not an issue at our board. So next is under, go ahead.
I also found it interesting in that same release that or memo, letter, correspondence, whatever it was, that we had received as trustees, that he also spoke highly of accepting and encouraging parents to come to the schools.
Yes, he did. So next, under communication announcements, it has to do with student trustees, staff, Minister of Education, and OSPA. Is there any here have any announcements or communications? I don't see any, but I do. And this is because I sit on the board of directors of OSPA, that just a quick reminder that trustees would have received a reminder this, like, I think it could have even been today or the other day, that deadline for this $1,000 scholarship is due this Friday. So if you could remind your schools, just to let you know that last year one of our students in our area actually won, put in for it and actually was chosen. So, it's $1,000 if, whatever you're going on to, it's a good thing. And so if you could encourage your principals, or if you know a student, is encourage them to fill out that basically application. And also we see it is the AGM is also coming up, and that is that you recently received the annual general meeting handbook and elections guide for 2023, and that starts on June 9th, and it is in Blue Mountain. Are there any other, say, out-of-district meetings, conferences, or conventions you would like to share? See any? So now we're down to trustee calendar events, which is obviously getting shorter. It's now May, and soon we're going to be into June. And just take how shortened it's now become. And finally, that the Blue Water District School Board adjourn at 8:50